trying to be a superstar like everybody else. But being myself is something I do well. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do.
Hi, what I'd like to look at in this short video is ball flight, more importantly the factors that influence the flight of the golf ball. It's fair to say that we're all out on the golf course, we're all hitting different shots, we're seeing different shapes, and the ball do different, sometimes strange things through the air, and it's very, very important if we're going to consistently improve and develop as golfers that we understand exactly what's happening to create the shots that we're seeing. Amongst golfers of all levels, since I've started working with FlightScope, I think the one thing I would say is that most players, as I said, of all levels, have a pretty limited understanding of the factors involved in ball flight and the changes that can be made to create different shots. So during this video, I'd like to give you an insight into exactly what's happening with different shots and how you can maybe change things to create a different shape when you're out on the range. Okay, so before we get into the details of what's actually controlling the curve on the golf ball and start looking at different factors involved in that, let's take a little look at the three shots we'll be discussing. Shot one is a nice little draw, hitting the centre line. Shot two is just a little bit of an overfade, just dropping off to the right at the end. Good strong golf shot. And shot three is a pull hook that'll get even the best golfers into trouble out of the golf course. So when you look at those three shots as an overview, three very, very different golf shots, all hit by the same golfer. And you would expect, looking at the curvature on the shot, to have a marked difference between all the swings hit. And I can assure you that the shots that were hit, the swings were very, very similar. Very little difference between any of them. Just some small factors and varying factors when combined can have a massive effect on what sort of shots you're seeing at the driving range or the golf course. Okay, so let's look at shot one first. Shot one's pretty much the shot that all the club golfers want to hit. That nice little soft draw that just falls to the left at the end. Really pretty on the eye, and more importantly, it's a really nice way of consistently playing a golf course. So we take a little look at what creates that shot. And that shot was created by a swing path that was 4.6 degrees to the right. So that's the orange figure that you see here on your screen. There's a path that was 4.6 to the right. The club face was 2.3 degrees to the right. Now, that's contradictory to what a lot of golfers believe. The ball has clearly curved to the left through the air. So there's a left curve on the golf ball. But the club face was 2.3 degrees open to the target line at impact. Now, most golfers, in an attempt to hit a draw, try and square up the club face. And you can see clearly there that on that shot that curves left in the air, the club face is actually slightly open, pointing to the right at impact. The important factor here is that, not that the club face is open, because that's going to dictate where the ball starts, slightly up the right. It's that it's less to the right than the path. So if you want to hit a draw shot, what you want to be creating is a situation where the face is pointing to the right, but the path is pointing more to the right. And that's what's going to give you that nice little draw shot. Now down here we've got a figure that reads H, plane line. When we swing a golf club, there's a lot of talk on the TV these days about swing plane, etc. We swing a club on a plane, and that plane can be directed to the right or to the left or in line. And what we've got here is a player whose plane line, so if you were videoing the golf swing, it would look like the player was swinging slightly to the left, but the path he's creating is out to the right. And the reason that's happening is because this player is hitting down on the golf ball 7 degrees. So we just look at a consolidated view on this now, and I'll just get this screen up where we need it. You've got a situation where the direction the swing is pointing and the angle of attack that the player creates go together to create our path. So we've got a plane line that's slightly to the left, we're hitting down on the golf ball, and that's creating a path that's out to the right. So whenever you're hitting down on the golf ball, you're hitting the ball on the back side of this circle, and you're creating an outward path on the golf club. So sometimes it's not always about changing the swing. This player is actually hitting down on the golf ball to give him the path that he needs. So club face slightly to the right, path further to the right, gives us that nice little draw shot that we're looking to create. Okay, so let's take a little look at shot 2. Shot 2 was that nice inline fade, very strong golf shot, can play a golf course without a shadow of a doubt with that shape. But let's have a little look at how this swing differed and what the geometry was like on this compared to the previous shot. Well, straight away the club face is a little bit squarer, and as a result the ball starts off more on line. As you can see there, it's got a starting line of 0.1 degrees to the left, and the club face was 0.2 degrees to the right. So it's round about where the club face points is where the ball starts. The horizontal plane, so the direction of this player's swing is pretty much identical to his previous shot. Previous shot was 2.8 to the left. That was a nice little draw shot he hit. This one is 2.4 to the left. So again, the player looks like he's swinging slightly to the left when videoed, but we've now got a path of 1 degree to the left. So we're actually swinging across this golf ball through impact. So even though the swing looks the same on video as it looked on the previous shot, we've got a completely different shape and we've got a completely different path. So why is that happening? Well, it's happening because, as you saw, the angle of attack, instead of being 7 down, is now only 1.7 down, because the player's hitting down on it less, it's creating less of an outward path, and as a result the player is hitting the golf ball further forward in this circle, and the further forward in the circle the player swings, the more to the left the path will go. So we've got a situation here that with a very similar swing and a very similar club face angle, I mean maybe 1.5 degrees difference in club face angle, 2 degrees should I say, in club face angle, and near enough an identical swing on video. This player produced a nice high draw and then a nice powerful fade. So angle of attack was a critical component in making those two shots different. The angle of attack is the biggest difference between those two shots. Hitting down on it more, hitting down on it less. Okay, now let's look at shot number 3. The shot number 3 is a particularly nasty shot. This shot can get you in trouble on pretty much every golf hole you'll ever play. So we've got to really get to the nitty-gritty of why this shot's happening. And the frustrating thing here is this shot is actually happening because this player is trying to do pretty much what every magazine tells him. He's trying to square up the club face. You can see there that the club face is, 1 degree to the left, so near as damn it square. He's got a really inline swing, so the swing looks beautiful on video, and he's hitting out at it. He's coming from the inside, so he's read the magazines or he's watched a YouTube article that suggests you hit out at the golf ball with a square club face. That's what he's doing, hitting at the back side of the circle, hitting down on it 5 degrees, but the ball goes wailing left into the rough, into the trees, into the hazard, whatever's waiting for him over there. So this is where understanding what you need to do is really important. The path of the golf club on that swing was 5.1 degrees to the right, and we got a big left curving shot into trouble. The path of the swing on this golf club is 4.6 degrees to the right, and we nearly hole it. So the path of the golf club and the way the swing looks is very similar. But what's happened is, on this shot, we had the club face slightly to the right, so the ball started to the right, allowing it to curve back. On this shot, we squared up the club face, and if you square up the club face and swing from the inside, you're going to get that low hooking shot. You've not as much loft on the club face, and the ball starts straight and then curves to the left. So if you go into the driving range, you need to understand clearly what's happening when you produce the shots that you're seeing out on the golf course, because this player could quite easily change the wrong piece in the swing and produce this shot on a very consistent basis. So it's not always as clear cut as you may think. So 3 very different golf shots produced with a very similar swing, but with variables that contributed to producing very, very different curves on the ball. So there you have a little insight into the different factors involved in creating the curve on the golf ball. Obviously there's a lot more to it, and you can go into it as much detail as you like, but it's just an insight to show you that it's not always the swing that's bad. Sometimes a really good looking swing can produce some different shots simply because of angle of attack and the effect that has on the path of the golf club. So not always a swing rebuild that you need. Sometimes it's just an understanding of, like I say, the pieces or the factors involved in creating the shapes and the curves that you see when you're on a golf course. Hope it helps. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me via email or phone. And if you need any more information, visit our website www.hopgolf.co.uk. Good luck.